minutes here. I know we're still giving folks the chance to sign on and make sure that they're logged in. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and get started with some quick introductions. My name is Carrie Supino. I am Palmer Land Conservancy's Community Engagement Coordinator for Colorado Springs. I have been with Palmer now for about a year and a half. And one of the things that we're going to be sharing with you as panelists today that I'd love to ask the rest of our speakers is I want to know from all of you what you are looking forward to eating this summer. And I'm more than happy to share on my end, my favorite thing in the world as far as Colorado produce goes is Palisade peaches. I love them just fresh. I love them baked. I love them grilled in any way, shape, and form. They are just my absolute favorite thing about summer in Colorado. So we'll go ahead and get some quick introductions from our other speakers. Let's start with Dylan.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Dylan O'Hare. I'm the Senior Conservation Manager with Palmer. I've been with Palmer for about 5 years now. And let's see, there's a lot to be excited about. I'm going to go with watermelon. That is the epitome of summer for me.
That's definitely a good choice. Probably a top two for me, definitely. All right, let's go to Megan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Moore. I'm a co-director at the Pueblo Food Project. We're a community-led food coalition down in Pueblo County. The thing that I'm looking forward to the most to eat is probably like really fresh cantaloupe that like when you walk up to it at the farm stand, you can smell it before you even like touch it.
Also a really good choice. I always have to ask the farmers that are selling it which one is the best one because I feel like I have a bad track record with cantaloupe, but they're always so knowledgeable. I feel like they can just look and be like, oh, it's going to be that one. But cantaloupe is definitely super good. All right, let's go to Jolene.
Good afternoon. My name's Jolene Collins. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for Palmer, and I'm based in our Pueblo office. The thing that I really look forward to in the summer is when basil is in full effect and I can just make as much pesto as I want. It is a true delight.
That's a great choice. Great thing about pesto too is you can freeze it, you can have it year round. It's so versatile. All right. Well, thank you all very much for going ahead and giving us a quick introduction of yourselves. And we are going to get to know our speakers a lot more all throughout the event. But we're going to go ahead and actually get started now with our dive into Local Food 101. So really quickly, I know all of you were prompted to answer that poll just a moment ago. If there's any of you who have not answered yet, go ahead and type in or make your final selections. We're going to end that poll, and then I'm curious to see a little bit more about all of you, what your current connection is to local food. So we'll go ahead and share those results and see just exactly what it is that brings us all here today. I love it. So it looks like we have quite a few folks who are already pretty familiar, at least somewhat, with local food. So a lot of folks attending farm stands or farmers markets, a lot of folks who enjoy a lot of the regional specialties that are grown here in Colorado, like Pueblo Chiles, Rocky Ford melons. We also have Olathe sweet corn, Palisade peaches. All of those are things that grow right here in Colorado. A couple of other folks who are affiliated with local food in other ways, supporting community-supported agriculture shares. If you do not know what that is, no worries. We are going to cover that in full detail. And then supporting conservation organizations like Palmer. Many of you may or may not realize that conservation can actually play a really critical role when it comes to local food access. And to launch us into that discussion, we are actually going to go to Dylan O'Hare, our Senior Conservation Manager, who is going to give us, start us off for our event by giving us a insight into just exactly how conservation and local food are very critically intertwined. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dylan.
All right, thanks, Carrie. Yeah, so to kick us off today, I'm going to be providing some context. I'm going to talk to you all about how access to land and water is what makes everything we're talking about today possible. I'm going to cover some of the challenges when it comes to water and land availability. Then I'm going to give you an update on some of the work that Palmer has been up to try and make this all possible as well. So it goes without saying, without both land and water, local food systems just wouldn't be possible. Here in Colorado, we have a thriving agricultural community and economy. The agricultural economy represents about $40 billion right here in the state of Colorado, and it supports almost 500,000 jobs. So it's a big part of who we are here in Colorado. And a lot of the agricultural activity here in the state is related to beef production, whether it's raising cows on ranches or growing food for them. And at the same time, though, we have some amazing vegetable producers right here in the state, and those vegetable producers grow such a wide diversity of vegetables that we're all familiar with and we'll learn a little bit more about today. But really, when I think about vegetables in Colorado, it's the Pueblo chili and the Rocky Ford melon that I'm so happy are here. And while we do grow a ton of vegetables here in the state of Colorado, we still import a lot of produce during the winter months. And I think that that's a good reminder to us that we have this amazing opportunity here to live seasonally. It allows us to eat the produce that's grown right here in our backyards during the season when they're growing and when they're being harvested. And luckily, our team is smart and strategic, and we're having this webinar right now, keying you up for harvest season coming up, which is already underway, but it really, really ramps up around this time of year. To support that vegetable production, we have 3 million acres of irrigated farmland in Colorado, and all of that farmland depends on access to water. In the West, we manage our water via a system of prior appropriation, which makes senior water rights extremely valuable. You might have heard of this as described as first in time, first in right. And this means that if you are a water right holder and your water right is senior or older than another water rights holder, then you get 100% of your water before the next water right in time gets any of theirs. And traditionally, agricultural producers are the ones who established these senior water rights first. And so their water rights account for a significant amount of water from a quantity standpoint and some of the most senior or most valuable water rights as well. And for context, most of these water rights were established in the 1800s as Colorado was starting to grow. And just like property, farmers and landowners own these water rights. Historically, this land and water has been passed down from one generation to another. And today, we're seeing a new trend in generational farming operations and the land and water ownership. Today, the average age of farm producers is 57 years old, and the next generation of farmers isn't as certain right now as it's been in the past. You know, farming is a tough business, and the draw of urban living is taking a toll on kids that are growing up in these farming families that would traditionally be taking on or taking over their family business. We could go to the next slide. So when we think about the challenges that are in front of us, I've really hit on land and water, and that's the same here when we think about the challenges. And so when there is uncertainty around who's going to step up and take on a family's farming operation, there can be some significant and unintended consequences. When the next generation of farmers doesn't want to run the family business, as we're starting to see, this can lead to these retirement age farmers to look to sell their land and water. And to provide a little more context around that, many working landowners are land rich and cash poor, is how they often describe it. And so without a plan in place for the next generation, their land and water can function as part of their retirement plan. And if that is the situation that comes up, it's a situation that we're seeing when these land sales do happen. they're happening in today's real estate market. And if we're tracking that, we know that things are just getting more and more expensive. And these assets, the land and especially the water, are really expensive. And that creates a barrier for young farmers that want to become landowners, that want to become farmers because they didn't necessarily grow up in a family that was already farming or that already owned land. And so when you have these high prices, it creates a real barrier. And this dynamic exists with water rights as well, but there are also different pressures that we're seeing when it comes to water. There is the availability of water, which is a major challenge. When you think about the Colorado River, there's a compact that helps to manage all of the water between all of the states that use it. And that compact was established and set the amounts of water that each state is allocated during a really wet period. And we're not experiencing that wet period anymore. And so there's more demand than there is supply. When we zoom into our region right here in the Arkansas basin, we're also in an over appropriated basin. So that, again, there are more demands or more rights to use the water than water exists. And we're seeing that trend really exacerbate this gap between supply and demand. In Colorado, though, we know that the Front Range is growing. Over 80% of Colorado's population lives along the Front Range, and it just so happens that 80% of our water resources fall on the western slope. And so we have a supply and demand challenge, and now we have a geographic challenge. And as the Front Range grows, so do the pressures on these agricultural water supplies. Farming uses a lot of water. And while there are ways to become more efficient, this significant use or need for water from agriculture is a reality that we do have to deal with when we're making decisions about what is important. In the past, this urban demand for agricultural water has resulted in devastating economic, ecological, and cultural impacts. Traditionally, the practice of buy and dry, where a city buys water from a water rights holder, usually a farmer, the city buys the water and takes it and puts it to use within the urban area to support the growing population. This buy and dry is a devastating practice. And unfortunately, we can look at Crowley County as an example. They were a thriving agricultural powerhouse. And in past decades, 95% of the water has been sold out of that community to growing Front Range cities. And what was once this powerhouse, this thriving agricultural community, is now a county that is mostly full of weeds and has more inmates than citizens. And there are still some farmers that are holding on there, but it's a real challenge. But there are paths forward that can help us to balance this demand and mitigate these devastating impacts. And at Palmer, we believe that conservation is one of them. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So an update on our end. We've been working for nearly a decade in the Lower Arkansas Valley to protect some of the best farmland and ranches. These are the properties, these are the families that are the backbone of our local food systems. We've worked to develop new tools and we've worked to use existing tools to address the unique, complicated, and vexing challenges around this water demand and agricultural preservation. And I'm excited to share that earlier this year, as a part of the Bessemer Farmland Conservation Project in Pueblo, we purchased a 620-acre farm that is irrigated by the Bessemer Ditch. We purchased this farm to demonstrate, to pilot the use of some of the new tools that we've developed, to be a use case and an example for other farmers in the region that can be used to mitigate these impacts of buy and dry that are pressing right now in Pueblo County on the Bessemer Ditch, but that we're also seeing throughout the entire Lower Arkansas Valley. We're leasing this farm to a partner farmer, a local farmer in the area who we've worked with in the past. And the goal is to take this 620-acre farm, this gem of a farm in Pueblo that's got really high quality soil. It's really large. It's a phenomenal operation. And it's currently slated for dry up. We're working with the landowner that we're leasing it to bring water, permanent water back to this to avoid the dry up that is poised to occur. And so our goal is to mitigate the impacts of ion dry, and that is so that we can give farmers that want to continue or to begin farming an opportunity to do so without the looming urban pressure for the water resources that they rely on. And, this isn't the only exciting thing happening in Pueblo County. I'm really excited to set the stage here and now pass the mic along to the rest of our presenters who are going to highlight some of the other best parts of our local food systems and hopefully show you how you're a part of those systems too. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dylan, for that sort of quick overview of all the important work that Palmer is doing as far as water conservation, and really highlighting how water is so integral to access to local food for us. Water in the West is a continuing ongoing challenge, and it's never anything shy of complicated, but it is just critical and important to access to local food. One other feature I want to make sure to point out to everyone as we're going through our event is the Q&A feature for Zoom. If you have questions throughout the event about anything that the speakers are talking about, please feel free to put them into the Q&A section, and we will have time at the end to go through all of those questions, make sure that they get answered. So feel free to do that throughout the event, and then we'll also have time dedicated at the end of the event as well to answer those questions. So with that being said, I would like to go ahead and pass the mic, so to speak, off to Megan Moore with Pueblo Food Project.
Thanks, Carrie. And thanks, Dylan, for that overview. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Megan. I think you can go to the next slide, Amanda. There we go. My name is Megan. I'm a co-director at the Pueblo Food Project. I'm a very proud Pueblo native. I'm a tennis coach, CSU Pueblo grad, and a corgi owner. It's just the fun stuff that I get to talk about a lot at work. So that's just a little insight into who I am and who PFP is as an organization. We like to keep it fun over here as much as we can. Next slide. So we've already talked a little bit about what the food system environment is like, but there's so many aspects of the food system that we haven't gotten into yet. So we can talk about it as broadly or as small scale as we want, but the food system is all of ours. It's not just yours. It's not just mine. It's all of ours to take advantage of and to love on and to create with and to explore. Next slide. So because the food system looks different to all of us, there are many definitions that we can follow as to what a food system is. To you, does it mean a thriving food economy or that every single person has healthy food access? A more defined version of it would be a food system is a network of activities that produce, process, distribute, and consume food. It includes the people, organizations, and infrastructure involved in feeding a population. So there are many, many aspects that can go into a food system, but we can talk a little bit about local food in this as well. So what constitutes local food? Some definitions say any food that is grown within 200 miles of you, 400 miles of you within the same state. So there are many definitions, but we can also determine whether local food is the right definition if it's a local farmer or if we want to include, let's say, like corporatized farming in that, which many people don't, and we don't as an organization. So we focus more on those local farmers and people in the community who are growing food for everyone. Next slide. So going back to the definition of the food system, we have a lot of centralization of our food system right now. So people go to one spot, AKA the grocery store, to get most of their food. And the question we're trying to answer is like, why aren't we feeding our own communities anymore? 40 years ago in the 80s, all of our food was coming from close to us, and 40 years later, you'd be hard pressed to find something at the grocery store that was actually grown within 200 miles of you, depending on where you are. In Colorado, we have a little bit more leeway. We have a lot more grown near us, but there's still a lot of things that are really hard to find that are locally grown. So things to think about in this realm, like why don't mom and pop stores exist anymore? And what would it mean to bring back those kinds of avenues to engage with in the local food system? Kind of a fun thought experiment if you want to take it and run. If every loaf and jug had a local producer giving it food, what would that mean? You know, it could be a really cool way to decentralize our food systems, but there's so many solutions out there. Next slide. And now we can talk a little bit about how you participate in the local food system. And like I said, we all have so many different ways that we connect with the food system. So for Pueblo Food Project, that looks different for probably Palmer Land Conservancy. We have different needs, different programs, and different things like that. But going to your local farm stand and farmers market, growing your own food, giving food away, cooking for your neighbors are all ways that we participate in the local food system. Next slide. But let's talk a little bit about how unique Pueblo's food system is. I don't know how many people in the chat room or in the webinar are from Pueblo or super familiar, but I like to think that we have one of the coolest and unique food systems in Colorado. Next slide. We are just like inundated with so much food history. We have an intersection of a lot of cultures that have stayed in Pueblo. So, for example, I'm sure everybody here is familiar with the Pueblo green chili. That's just one of many culturally significant foods that are created in Pueblo. If you haven't heard of kielbasa, it's a Slovenian sausage that's still very popular. It's still very well known. We have a very strong Italian population as well. Gagliano's market has been in business for well over 100 years in its original neighborhood and makes green chili sausage and so many other incredible foods. So we have this opportunity in Pueblo to really talk about how important our cultural foods are, where in a lot of other places, a lot of that culture has been lost. We still have a significant connection to our Hispanic, Italian, and Slovenian culture. And we have all of these awesome foods to go along with it. And I could talk about this for days, but if you ever come down to Pueblo, Pueblo Food Project can give you all the spots to try all the best food. Next slide. So we can move on a little bit to what Pueblo Food Project actually does within our community. Next slide. We have a lot of different programming. One awesome program has been the community food pantry. We purchase only local food and fill the pantry with local food to give out to other pantries. So we are not a direct to consumer. We are a direct to pantry operation. We spent well over $1 million on locally sourced food that is within Pueblo County to fill this pantry. Thousands and thousands of pounds of food have gone to local community members through this program. One of our most successful and most fun programs has been the Entrepreneur Development Program. Snaps to JoJo, who is on this call as well, who has been our TA for this program. We've graduated 30 food entrepreneurs from this program who are still out in the world creating and cooking and doing amazing things in our little local food system in Pueblo. Next slide. Sun Soil Water Summit is our biggest event of the year, where we gather as many community members and statewide partners as we can to share the love of our food system in Pueblo and share the knowledge that we have of our food system and how we can improve our future in our little spaces across the state. We also highlight a lot of entrepreneurs and local food leaders in this summit. Our community garden sustainability project has built about 12 gardens across Pueblo County, all serving their own purpose to give produce to community members in different ways. Next slide. But our program that has the biggest focus on local food, they all do in their own separate ways, has been food skills education. So we do a lot of cooking and cooking classes recently. They have been integrating a lot of gardening, which has been very fun. But we have spent for these classes specifically as much dollars as we possibly can at our local farm stands and local by local producers. Next slide, please. In the past, a lot of our cooking classes have been focused on families, so intergenerational cooking. So we bring in whole families, kids and parents to learn to cook together, and has been one of the most fulfilling programs that we've done. We love getting to see families come back and talking about what they made together, how they enjoyed it, their experience when they went to a farm, their experience using the local food and eating and feeling it and touching it and working with it. It's just really incredible to see these families get together and really establish new skills and establish relationships with each other because of cooking classes. Next slide. So when we are shopping for these, we go out to as many local farms as we can. So some of our staples have been Morrow Farms, Musso Farms, Nola Natural Farms, and Millburger Farms, some of our biggest farms in Pueblo. But we also get a lot of food from our local entrepreneurs. So those who went through our program will come to our classes and either help teach a class, or will bring their product and let us use it for the program. We also utilize one of the awesome food hubs that we have in this southern region of Colorado, which is Valley Roots Food Hub. They have producers from all over Colorado, northern New Mexico, and a few in Arizona. So we can get the best, most local produce we possibly can for these classes. And I'm sure you're wondering what food we make. We make just about anything. You name it, we've probably tried to make it successfully. I don't know, but we've all tried our best and had so much fun doing it. So we've made tamales, lasagna, tortillas, chicken and dumplings, peach cobbler, pesto, green chili, gyros, scalloped potatoes, literally anything you can think of. Just the other day, we made pot pie for the first time and it was so good. I took some home and I had it the next day and I was like very disappointed that I had no more left. So just an awesome experience and made with as local food as possible. It's just really a special experience for us and for our participants. Next slide. So through this program, especially the family one, we collected a ton of recipes from these families and from other local chefs and some restaurants who gave us their recipes to really dig into like local traditions. So we created this little community cookbook called Pueblo Cooks, and it's filled with like 200 different recipes from appetizers to snacks to main dishes, just to fun things. And so many of them came directly from our families who are sharing things that they made at home and wanted to contribute to this book. So one of our favorite little recipes, we make this a lot because it's super easy to prepare and you can make it in so many different ways, is fruit salsa. We made a Palisade peach one just the other day at a cooking class, and every single person left was like, that salsa was so amazing, and they loved it. So I'm sure that was remade a couple times with the produce that people brought home. I thought it was amazing too. I probably had too much of it, but yeah, so this is just one of the many recipes out of this book. And it was just a beautiful collection of what was created during these classes. Next slide. So Pueblo Food Project, what we value most is local food, and we ask you to think about what you can do to make an impact. Next slide. I want to emphasize that no contribution to the local food system is too small. So if you're just growing a plant in your backyard of one tomato and you're using that, that's awesome. That's incredible. If you are taking buckets of zucchini around your neighborhood because you grew too much, that's awesome. If you're spending money at a local restaurant with a local farmer, if you're cooking for a group of people, all of that is creating happiness, love, and positivity in our food system. If you're interested in learning more about PFP or getting more involved, you can scan this little QR code, and we're super reachable. So if you email us at info@Pueblo Food Project, we'll get back to you as soon as we can. But we absolutely love what we do, and we're so proud of the connections that we can make in our local food system. And I'm proud to know my farmers and proud to know organizations like Palmer that make it easier for farmers to continue their work. And that's all from me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan, for highlighting Pueblo Food Project's work. And we are just so thankful to have PFP as one of our valued partners in the Pueblo region for Palmer doing its work. It's really just so clear. I love all the wonderful calls to action of how folks can directly participate in their own food system, probably in ways that many of them already are and may not have even realized. So it's just so great to see all that great work getting done. We're now going to transition over to Jolene, who is going to get into the real meat of this event, our local food 101. We're going to really dive in here to how you, as members and participants in your local food system, can deepen your connection to land and water by supporting local producers. So go ahead, Jolene.
Thank you, Carrie. Can't wait to talk about the ways that you can make an impact on your local food system. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about the top 3 things that you can do to make a local impact on your food system, and that's by shopping seasonally, finding your local market, and supporting producers year-round. And each of these will have an exclusive resource that will be available to you in your follow-up email. So make sure that you check your email. You'll have a downloadable resource that will allow you to take home what you've learned from this webinar today. Next slide. So when it comes to shopping seasonally, we know that farmers can grow what Mother Nature lets them. And in Colorado, we have high altitude, hot days, and cold nights. And while we're no California when it comes to produce, our farmers work really hard to cultivate the things that thrive here. I'm thinking peaches, melon, and peppers. And the more in-season ingredients that you're able to purchase, the more that you're able to support local. So this is one of your exclusive resources created by Palmer, again, that you'll be able to download in your follow-up email. It's your guide to what's in season. So you can see, kind of like what Dylan was saying, that as we move into July and August, we really get a plethora of produce that starts to grow in this region. And this is a really great way to think about what you want to be cooking and enjoying and what you have to look forward to so that you can start to get excited about creating delicious meals. Next slide. And speaking of which, one of the things that you'll get is that fruit salsa recipe that Megan was talking about. And one of the things I really love about this recipe at this moment is it's a really great complement to what's in season and what's coming in season. Would highly recommend using those Palisade peaches in this recipe to really taste that in-season produce. And this is a great example of, like, maybe you have a go-to salsa recipe that you typically use, but if you start to think and shop seasonally, you can really get inspired, support local farmers, and maybe try to cook something new. It sounds like this one is a big hit and a really great recipe for a hot summer night. Next slide, please. Another thing that you can do to make an impact on your local food system is to find your local market. So this is a list and a map of the seasonal farmers markets and farm stands in Colorado Springs and Pueblo. And so we're highlighting, some of these markets change year over year. So we've pulled the most updated resources that we can for you so that you can take a peek and see what local markets are close to me, where can I go and purchase direct. If you can go straight to a farm, wonderful. And in Pueblo, we've got a lot of easy access to farms here, but that might not be the case for everyone. So the farmers market model is where the farmer comes to you, usually in populated urban corridor so that you get a large population of folks where the farmers can pop up and sell their goods to people directly. And, it's really hard work for farmers to get to those farmers markets. So it's a great place to show support for those farmers and purchase their produce. And we've got another great way for you to visit Pueblo Farms that I'll talk about a little bit later. Next slide, please. One of the other ways that you can make an impact here is to support community-supported agriculture. And what is that? So, community-supported agriculture is also known as a CSA, and this is a model that was actually created in Japan in the 60s and 70s. The model was adapted in North America in the 80s by a farm in Massachusetts, and this is where people pay at the beginning to take shares of that farm's season. So one of the reasons why this is really beneficial to farmers is that they would have to wait for that revenue until the end of the season. So it's hugely beneficial to them and allows them to start their planting, knowing that they're growing food for folks that are going to purchase them once they start to grow. So you'll pick up your produce on a schedule. Usually it's weekly at a local pickup location, and CSAs are normally built out in half shares and full shares, and they're fun. You don't always know what you're going to get. It's usually a mix of veggies. Sometimes there's other options where you can add meat, cheese, or eggs. And I like to split CSAs with friends where I pick it up one week and they pick it up another. It makes it just fun and exciting and a great way to support local. Some CSAs will give you a sneak peek about what's going to be in your box so you can start thinking about the recipes that you're making. And some of them will even include recipes, kind of like the fruit salsa one that we just looked at. Next slide, please. So if you're looking to join a CSA, and according to our poll, it sounds like about a third of you have used a CSA before. There are some resources in Colorado Springs and in Pueblo here. And this map also includes ways to purchase from year-round producers. So in Colorado, with having a shorter growing season compared to other regions, one of the other models that farmers use are value-added products. So these are like salsas and sauces and pickled vegetables. And if you've ever been to Milberger Farms in Pueblo and had the great joy of talking with Shane Milberger, he'll talk about how this model has been really pivotal to the growth of their farm. So they've got all of these salsas and sauces and frozen chilies that you can buy year round. And this list includes places where you can purchase those goods. If you've ever been to Peppers and Petals in Pueblo, it is like the Disneyland of locally jarred products. So a really cool hotspot if you just want a taste of a little bit of everything that the farmers make out on the mesa. And in Springs, you'll have places like Ranch Food Direct that they not only have a huge variety of locally made products, but they also sell freshly processed meat. So don't forget, all of these resources are going to be downloadable in your follow-up email to you exclusively from Palmer so that you can keep supporting local. And with that, turn it back over to you, Carrie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jolene. We are so excited to be able to share these resources with you. I will say too, we did our best research as possible to bring you something that would be as current as possible for this year's food season. All of the farms and things that you say or that you see on these maps, you'll also have in list form with living links that'll take you straight to the website of those producers and CSAs. So those will all be available to you. But also note that this is not an all exhaustive list. There are plenty of producers, farmers, and CSA programs that didn't necessarily have capacity to make it onto this list. So we encourage you to do your own exploring also. Go out and do a drive down Highway 50 in Pueblo and see what other farm stands you might be able to discover. Stop by the side of the road if you see someone who is, selling Palisade peaches or local goods and produce, and just, see what it might be like to explore new avenues to local food. And with that, we're actually going to pass back to Jolene really quickly, who's going to give us a highlight on how you specifically can get a closer look at some of these farms and producers in this coming October. Go ahead, Jolene.
Next slide, please. We have launched our 5th annual Bike the Bessemer. So talk about exploring. If you want to explore the farms of Pueblo County, this is an immersive experience on bike where you get to see the work of Palmer, ride along the farmlands, and then enjoy a farm to table lunch together as a community. Next slide, please. Our Bike the Bessemer has grown year over year, and we're really trying to elevate our experience for 2025. We've started this by creating a new, beautiful route. I was lucky to go on a test ride of this route. It's absolutely gorgeous. You pass just quintessential farmland. And if you joined Bike the Bessemer last year, you'll notice there's a couple of differences for the route this year. So we've got a little bit more of an elevation gain. It's longer mileage. We're just at about 15 miles, and you're going to be riding on more gravel than we did last year. Again, it's really, really, really beautiful. And we hope that that's something that folks are going to get excited for. Next slide, please. Another thing that we're adding is a curated farmers market and maker pop-up. So after the ride, you'll get to purchase from some of the best local makers in our region. The photos here are highlighting a few of those. Angela's Artisan Breads, that's delicious sourdough from Pueblo. North Creek Apothecary, that's Sweet Robert smiling there. He lives in Beulah and brews his tinctures there. And then Snowmelt Sauces, they are a Pueblo-based company that makes srirachas and hot sauces using Pueblo chili. Next slide. Another thing that we're offering for this Bike the Bessemer is you can upgrade your ticket to receive a free Sport Tech tee. Our folks at Palmer have worked to bring back the t-shirt that people really love. So if you're registering, make sure that you're registering as soon as possible for 2 reasons. One is that our option to purchase the t-shirt will end after Labor Day. But most importantly, we want to reiterate that we have early bird pricing that's open now through August 17th. So make sure you go to palmerland.org, our events page. We'll have Bike the Bessemer and get registered. We can't wait to see you out on the Mesa on bike. Back to you, Carrie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jolene. Like Jolene mentioned too, you'll receive in your follow-up email a link to directly register for Bike the Bessemer and get you connected with hopefully answering any questions you may have. You're also always welcome to reach out to us at Palmer. We're really, really excited for this year's 5th inaugural Bike the Bessemer event. So we're super excited for October to come around. I'm going to have us go to the next slide. So that's going to do it for now for our local food 101, but I'd love it if we could hang out for just a couple more minutes here and ask a couple additional questions of you, our valued audience and community. We want to hear from you. What did you gain from your event experience today? You should see a poll question pop up on your screen in the next couple seconds here. And we want to know what is going to motivate you going forward to connect with local food. We hope that we've sort of sparked some curiosity and are, setting you down the right track to connect with local food and local producers, and also just to see how incredibly important that is for our region. Making the connections that Dylan did at the beginning. Without water, there is no local food, and without local food, there's not a lot of the integral culture and heritage that has become so valuable to so many of our communities in Colorado. It's really just become for many of us, the lifeblood of what brings us together is shared food at the table. So we're going to keep that poll open for just another couple of seconds here, and then we'll close it up and see what everyone's thinking as far as what they learned and gained from today's event. So go ahead and get your responses in, and then we're going to go ahead and close up our poll. All right, poll is closed. Let's see what everyone was thinking today as far as what they gained. Oh, awesome. I love seeing that folks are planning on shopping locally this summer. Hopefully, those resources will definitely directly help you to do that. Again, all of those pages will lead to living links. And again, they're not all exhaustive. If you happen to be traveling to the Western Slopes this year, take a wine tour out in Palisade, go and visit an orchard, get to know those local farmers in our state that work so hard to produce a lot of the staples that we absolutely know and love. All right, one more question that we're going to delve into really quickly here is, what other topics would you like to see us cover in future virtual events? We are working on formatting these virtual events to help connect you as members of the community with conservation in a way that really gets you to be engaged with the land and water that we all find so integral and necessary for our livelihood. So we would love to hear from you. Just a couple of quick suggestions, things that you're curious about that you'd like to see us talk more about. Maybe you want to know more about water law in Colorado. Maybe you're curious about Palmer's public work to protect parks and open spaces like the ones that we've protected in the Pikes Peak region of Colorado Springs. We have over 20 parks and open spaces that we've protected. So maybe you're wanting to know more about our public work. So we'd love it if you could just put a couple quick suggestions in there, and we will take those to heart and let you know as soon as our next virtual event, which will be this fall in October, that'll be announced pretty soon. We'll put a save the date out in our newsletter so that you can stay engaged with Palmer. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us today for our virtual event. We are going to move now really quickly into a Q&A section. I'm sure, or at least I hope, that some of you have questions, and we've had a few come through for the Q&A section. So we're going to go ahead, and if you haven't submitted one yet, there's still time by all means. But we'll just sort of go through the list here. This one's actually a quiz question, so I don't know the answer to this, but Megan, Jolene, Dylan, one of you might, and it's probably informative for the rest of our group. What was the #1 crop in El Paso County from 1980 to 1990? I don't know if any of us happen to know the answer to that one. Well, it's definitely, if no one knows offhand, we can do our due diligence and we'll look that up, and maybe we'll share that in the email going out afterwards. Our next question, this is a great one that I think Jolene or Megan could potentially answer. Is there a coordinator for local community gardens such as CSU extensions, perhaps? I don't know, Megan, you talked about a little bit about gardening, so maybe you'd be a good person to answer that question.
So as far as community gardens go in Pueblo County specifically, Pueblo Food Project acts more as the coordinator for community gardens. We're the most connected to those that are out there. We do partner with the CSU Extension Master Gardener Program to help us take care of our edible landscapes, which are a form of community garden that uses like government land and other like private spaces to grow, instead of topiary, food. So we have a great partnership with CSU Extension, but as far as in our area goes, PFP functions as the coordinator for community gardens.
Awesome. As far as for the Springs region, that is something that we actually didn't dig into a whole lot as far as our resources that we provided for this local food event, but probably something that we should have looked into. There are definitely community gardens throughout Colorado Springs. I know Bear Creek is one of them in their community garden area. But again, apologize that we didn't do that research for you on the front end, but just gives you another thing to look into on your local food journey. We're going to go down now to the next question here. This one's definitely a good one for Megan. Where can the Pueblo Food Project cookbook be obtained?
We have them in our office right now. If someone is interested in grabbing one from us, we are giving them out for a donation. We can ship it to you if that's what's necessary. But you can connect with the Pueblo Food Project after this and get a little bit more information on how to collect that if you are interested in getting one. Yeah.
And Megan, I know you guys used to table at the Pueblo farmers markets down in that region. Is that another place where folks could potentially purchase or acquire a cookbook if they happen to be attending one of the farmers markets?
That is actually a great point. Right now, we are attending regularly the Eastside Farmers Market on Saturdays. Um, and if someone is interested in getting a cookbook, they could let us know maybe when they're going to come visit, and we can keep one to the side for you for sure.
Be a great way too to go directly to a farmer's market and you'd have some recipes right on hand in terms of knowing what to shop for locally.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, we're going on down the list now. We have one that says, what percentage of Colorado agriculture is from Pueblo, Colorado Springs area? Dylan might be the right person to answer this question.
Yeah, I can take this one. So I don't think that I could give you percentages, but I can give you a little bit of context and maybe you can parse this out from a relative perspective. But Pueblo County is about a $50 million agricultural economy. El Paso is around 25. So Pueblo's twice as big as El Paso County from an ag perspective. $50 million is a lot. Weld County up in northern Colorado is a $2 billion economy, ag economy contributor. So there's a lot of ag in Colorado, and Weld County really leads it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dylan, for the insight there. We have another one actually for you, Dylan, here down at the bottom. This one says, Dylan spoke about seniority rights in regards to water. How do these laws incorporate indigenous tribes and their water rights?
Yeah, this isn't something that we deal with directly in our region, so I'm not going to have the most concrete answer for you. So, but there are tribes that do own water rights that work within the system that exists. That being said, I understand that tribes have been, allocated more water than they're really getting. I don't know too much about the circumstances there though, so I don't want to get over my skis and tell you something that's not true.
Definitely appreciate that. One thing I would encourage folks to look into, Colorado Open Lands, one of our valued partner land trusts throughout the state of Colorado, just led a live event yesterday on the use of acequia water rights down in the southern part of the state, which are a much different technique of water management. I definitely encourage folks to look into acequia water rights and management. They are very different than the traditional way of managing water in Southern Colorado and much more tied into a lot of the Latino and Hispanic culture in the southern half of the state. So that's one additional point of information that I could add. And we have a thank you so much, Dylan, for contributing that piece of information. We also have a couple of other things that have come through just for everyone's information. It sounds like El Paso County Extension Office in Colorado Springs does maintain a list of community gardens. So if you are looking to access a community garden area, that's a great resource and place to go as far as where you could look into community gardening efforts. I think that's everything that I'm seeing for our Q&A. We will hang on for just a few more moments here. And if there are any other last questions anyone would like to submit, please feel free to do so. Other than that, we would just like to say thank you so much for joining us today for our Local Food 101 virtual summer conservation update. A couple of quick notes in terms of how you can make sure to stay engaged with Palmer. We are incredibly grateful to our community as a nonprofit. The folks who donate and support to Palmer are the ones who directly make conservation work possible. So if you are feeling motivated or inspired by your involvement with local food today, we definitely encourage you and welcome you to become a part of the Palmer community by donating. We also have other events coming up that we would love to invite you to attend. Signing up for our e-news, following us on social media will make sure that you stay current on ways to get out, whether it's an opportunity on the land or these virtual opportunities. We would welcome you to be present at one of our other events. And again, Bike the Bessemer is just a couple of months away. That early bird registration ends on August 17th. You will get a direct link to sign up for Bike the Bessemer if you're interested in getting a tour out of the farmlands that you learned about today. So we would welcome you to also sign up for Bike the Bessemer while that early bird registration especially is still active. So other than that, I'm not seeing any other questions coming through in the Q&A. I'd like to send a big thank you to Dylan, Megan, and Jolene for their expertise today. We are so grateful for all three of you, and we are gonna close out our event and wish all of you the best rest of your day. And thank you so much for joining us.